The click-click of Alexandra Westbrook's $1,200 Louboutin heels echoes through the Providence Municipal Court, like tiny thunderclaps of arrogance. The 25-year-old heiress to the Westbrook financial empire strides down the center aisle like she's walking a fashion runway. Her Gucci sunglasses remain firmly in place, even indoors. Her attorney, a middle-aged man with a $5,000 leather briefcase, follows a step behind, not as a guide, but as an attendant. She passes the court officers without so much as a glance of acknowledgement. Judge Frank Coprio observes her entrance with the same neutral expression he maintains for everyone who enters his courtroom, whether homeless or billionaire. The difference is in Alexandra's posture. Her head tilted slightly back, shoulders relaxed as if bored, the half-smile suggesting she's already won a battle that hasn't even begun. The bailiff announces, Case number 23-792, State of Rhode Island versus Alexandra Westbrook, charges of speeding in a school zone, reckless driving, and resisting an officer. Judge Coprio looks over his glasses. Good morning, Mrs. Westbrook. Alexandra finally removes her sunglasses, revealing blue eyes that show not a trace of concern. It's Miss Westbrook, actually. Her voice is soft, polite, but carries an undertone of correction as if she were speaking to a waiter who got her order wrong, not a judge. Miss Westbrook, the report indicates you were driving 95 miles per hour in a school zone with a 35 mph limit. This occurred at 8:25 in the morning during school arrival time. How do you respond to these charges? Alexandra crosses her legs elegantly. Look, I was late for an important meeting. The road was practically empty, and my car was designed for high speeds. It's an Aston Martin DB11, you know, absolutely safe at any velocity. The courtroom falls silent, absorbing the casualness with which she admits and justifies an infraction that could have cost children's lives. Subscribe now if you believe speeding near schools should result in serious consequences, regardless of who's driving. Judge Coprio leans forward. Miss Westbrook, the police report indicates that a group of 22 third-grade children was crossing the street approximately 200 feet ahead of you. The officer calculated that at the speed you were traveling, you would have struck those children if he hadn't diverted traffic. Alexandra rolls her eyes. But that didn't happen, right? Nobody got hurt. The officer was doing his job, I understand that. But are we really spending court resources on something that could have happened but didn't? Your father is Victor Westbrook, founder of Westbrook Global Investments, correct? Judge Coprio asks, seemingly changing the subject. Alexandra brightens slightly, a smile of recognition crossing her face. Yes, that's my father. And you work for him? I'm the company's director of public relations. Why? I'm curious about something, Miss Westbrook. If one of your employees drove 95 miles per hour near a school, nearly hitting children, and then said that nothing happened, what would your reaction be as PR director? Alexandra hesitates for the first time. That's different. Why? Judge Coprio presses. Because... She pauses, recalculates. Look, obviously I take safety very seriously, but I also understand that people make mistakes. I'd probably give them a second chance. A second chance, repeats Judge Coprio. Interesting. Officer Peterson, is this Miss Westbrook's first traffic violation? The officer consults his tablet. No, Your Honor. In the past 18 months, 3 speeding tickets, 1 for running a red light, and 1 for parking in a handicapped space, all resolved with payment of fines. Second chance, third chance, fourth chance, fifth chance, enumerates Judge Coprio. It seems you've had several opportunities to learn. Alexandra adjusts her posture, crossing her arms defensively. With all due respect, Your Honor, I paid all those fines, substantially. The system is designed that way. You break a rule, you pay the financial penalty, and we move on. I'm prepared to do that again today. Her attorney opens his briefcase, presumably to pull out his checkbook. What's the amount? Judge Coprio looks at the attorney, then back to Alexandra. Miss Westbrook, this court is not an ATM. We are not here to process transactions. You're facing serious charges that could have resulted in tragedy. Alexandra audibly sighs. Look, I understand you have a job to do. I really do. But let's be realistic here. We all know how this ends. Let's skip to the part where you give me some exorbitant fine that won't affect my life in the slightest. I write a check, and we all go our separate ways. The entire courtroom holds its breath. Judge Coprio sits absolutely still for 5 long seconds. Miss Westbrook, are you suggesting that laws only apply to people who cannot afford to ignore them? I'm not suggesting anything, she replies, a hint of irritation finally penetrating her polished facade. I'm stating a fact. People like my family keep this city running. Our taxes pay the salaries. Our businesses create the jobs. It's simple social ecology. There are people who make the rules, people who enforce the rules, and people who, frankly, are above them. The silence that follows is almost tangible. Judge Coprio removes his glasses slowly. Officer Peterson, do we have the dashcam video from the stop? Yes, Your Honor. On screen now. The courtroom screens show the scene. Alexandra's silver Aston Martin being pulled over. She remains in the vehicle as the officer approaches. Her voice comes clearly through the body camera microphone. Do you know how long it takes to process a ticket? Because I'm sure it takes longer than it takes for my father to call your supervisor. The video continues. Officer Peterson remains professional. Ma'am, I need to see your license and vehicle registration. Is that really necessary? Look at the car. Look at me. I obviously didn't steal it. Ma'am, by law, I need to see your documents. The Alexandra on video dramatically rolls her eyes, reaches for her Birkin bag, and extracts a wallet. Happy now? My name is Alexandra Westbrook. Google it. I'm sure you'll find you're making a mistake. The officer examines her documents. Ma'am, you were driving 95 miles per hour in a school zone. And? That's more than twice the legal speed limit. There were children present. But I didn't hit any of them, did I? God, this is ridiculous. I have a board meeting in 20 minutes. How much is the fine? I'll pay double if we can end this now. Ma'am, it doesn't work that way. I'm going to issue several citations due to the nature of the offense. The Alexandra on video puts her sunglasses back on. You know what? Go ahead. Write as many tickets as you want. My lawyer will handle it, and you'll probably get a call from the mayor before the end of the day. Good luck with your career. The officer continues writing the citations, ignoring the threat. When he hands the papers over, Alexandra takes them and says, I hope that was fun exercising your little bit of power. Must be exciting for someone like you. Judge Coprio signals for the video to be paused. Miss Westbrook, you threatened this officer's career and suggested you would use political connections to avoid consequences. How do you explain this behavior? Alexandra shifts in her chair for the first time, uncrossing and recrossing her legs. Obviously, I was frustrated. We all say things in the heat of the moment. Continue the video, please. The screen shows Alexandra picking up her phone. Can you just wait 1 second? I'm literally handling this right now. She dials, waits. Dad? Yes, I'm being detained by some... What's your name again? She looks at the officer's badge. Officer Peterson, yes, speeding or something. Can you... Great, thank you. She hangs up and smiles at the officer. That should be resolved shortly. Sorry for your time. The officer stands firm. Ma'am, that doesn't change anything about the citations I'm issuing. Alexandra's expression changes instantly. You're not understanding. My father just called the police commissioner. Your boss. Probably your boss's boss, actually. She glances at her watch. So unless you want to start patrolling parking lots next month, I suggest you reconsider those citations. Again, the officer remains professional. Ma'am, I need you to sign here acknowledging receipt of these citations. Your court appearance is mandatory, not optional, due to the nature of the infractions. Alexandra looks directly at the body camera. You really want to do this, don't you? Must be frustrating, earning so little, having so little power in the real world, and then meeting someone like me, someone whose breakfast costs more than your daily salary. Judge Coprio signals to pause the video again. The courtroom is silent. Miss Westbrook, you address this officer as if he were your subordinate, not a law enforcement officer performing his duty. Alexandra sighs. It's not personal, it's hierarchical. As I said, there's a natural order to things. Some people are born to lead, others to follow orders. Leave a like if you believe no one is above the law, regardless of the size of their bank account. Officer Peterson, is there more? Yes, Your Honor, the final interaction. The video resumes. Officer Peterson, ma'am, you are receiving citations for speeding in a school zone, reckless driving, and now I'm adding attempted obstruction of justice due to your call and threats. Alexandra tosses the citations onto the passenger seat. This is a joke. Do you know who I am? Do you know who my father is? Officer Peterson responds calmly. Ma'am, I know exactly who you are. You're a driver who broke the law and endangered children. The Alexandra on video removes her sunglasses, her eyes flashing with anger. You'll regret this, I promise. She starts the car with a roar of the engine. You can look forward to that day for the next 30 years of your mediocre career. Then, with a final look of contempt, you really think I'm going to show up in court for this? What a joke. The video ends. Judge Coprio replaces his glasses. Miss Westbrook, the video shows a consistent pattern of disrespect for the law, for public safety, and for the officer who was simply doing his job. You demonstrated a belief that your financial status places you above the law. I am inclined to impose the maximum penalty for all charges. Alexandra leans forward, a confident smile returning to her face. Your Honor, I appreciate your position, but let's be practical. What's the maximum fine? 10,000? 20,000? I'll write a check right now. My time, the company's time actually, is worth far more than that. Let's resolve this like reasonable adults. Her attorney opens a checkbook. Judge Coprio looks at the attorney, then at Alexandra. Miss Westbrook, you continue to view this as a simple financial transaction, an inconvenience to be resolved with money, like paying a utility bill. Isn't it? She responds, genuinely confused. I broke a rule. There's a financial penalty. I pay it. We move on. It's literally how the entire legal system works for infractions like this. Interesting perspective, says Judge Coprio, his voice dangerously calm. Officer Peterson, did you run a full background check on this case? Yes, Your Honor. We discovered that Miss Westbrook has a consistent pattern. 17 traffic violations in the past 5 years across various jurisdictions, all resolved with payment of fines. No license suspensions or additional consequences. Alexandra smiles. See? Consistency. The system works. She glances at her watch again, a deliberate gesture of impatience. Judge Coprio notices. Do you have an important appointment today, Miss Westbrook? Actually, yes, I have a video conference with investors in Singapore in... She consults her Apple Watch. 47 minutes. I see. And are these investors more important than this judicial proceeding? Alexandra hesitates, finally sensing the trap. I'm not saying that. Just mentioning that I have professional obligations. Just as Officer Peterson had the professional obligation to stop you before you could hit a group of 8-year-old children. Obligations that you ridiculed and tried to circumvent using your father's name. For the first time, Alexandra appears slightly uncomfortable. Look, I know I wasn't perfect in that interaction. I was stressed, late. I reacted poorly. Judge Coprio nods. You reacted like someone who believes that rules are for others, that laws are inconveniences to be worked around when they interfere with your plans, that lives, children's lives, I must emphasize, are secondary to your convenience. That's not fair, Alexandra protests, a spark of genuine indignation in her voice. I never said I don't care about children. I didn't see any children. If I had seen them, obviously I would have slowed down. You were driving 95 miles per hour in a marked school zone. The speed limit signs are not suggestions, Miss Westbrook. They are laws designed to protect lives. The attorney interjects. Your Honor, my client acknowledges her lapse in judgment and is prepared to accept the appropriate financial consequences. As you can see, she has voluntarily appeared in court today, demonstrating respect for the judicial process. After stating to the officer that she wouldn't appear, Judge Coprio notes dryly. Miss Westbrook, continues Judge Coprio, looking her directly in the eyes, I'm curious. What do you think should happen here today? What outcome would you consider fair for someone who drove nearly 100 miles per hour near children, threatened an officer's career, and demonstrated complete disregard for the judicial system? Alexandra looks momentarily caught off guard by the question. Well, as I said, I'm willing to pay whatever fine the court deems appropriate. Just a fine. What if you were hit tomorrow by someone driving 95 miles per hour? Would a fine be sufficient? That's different. Why? Because in that scenario, someone would get hurt. Exactly, says Judge Coprio. And the only reason no one was hurt in this case was the quick action of Officer Peterson, the same man whose career you threatened, whose authority you disrespected, and whose worth you diminished. Alexandra looks down for the first time. I already said I reacted poorly. Miss Westbrook, I am ready to pronounce my sentence. The entire courtroom tenses. For the charges of speeding in a school zone and reckless driving, I impose a fine of $10,000 for each. Alexandra visibly relaxes, while her attorney is already reaching for a pen. For the charge of resisting an officer, I impose an additional $5,000. The attorney is ready to write the check, but Judge Coprio isn't finished. Additionally, I am suspending your driver's license for 6 months, effective immediately. Alexandra straightens in shock. What? You can't do that. I need to drive for work. Judge Coprio tilts his head. I'm sure someone with your resources can find alternative transportation. Furthermore, he continues relentlessly, I am ordering 200 hours of mandatory community service. Alexandra looks to her attorney in panic, but he is equally surprised. Community service. Your Honor, my client runs an important division of a global company. She simply doesn't have... She will find time, interrupts Judge Coprio, just as she finds time to accumulate 17 traffic violations. What kind of community service? Asks Alexandra, her voice now noticeably quieter. You will complete 200 hours at the Providence Children's Rehabilitation Center, working with children who are relearning to walk after traffic accidents. The blood drains from Alexandra's face. I can't do that. I'm not good with injured children, please. That is precisely why you must do it, responds Judge Coprio. You need to see, up close and personal, the consequences that reckless drivers like you cause. You will work directly with physical therapists, helping children who have had their lives altered forever because someone decided that getting somewhere quickly was more important than their safety. Alexandra is visibly shaken. I can't do that. I literally can't. I'll pay more. How much more? 20,000? 50,000? There's a tremor in her voice now. I really can't handle injured children, please. Judge Coprio watches her carefully. Miss Westbrook, are you telling me you have enough empathy to be disturbed by these children's suffering, but not enough empathy to drive safely around them? The comment hits Alexandra like a slap. Her mouth opens to respond, but nothing comes out. Officer Peterson could have simply issued a ticket, like all the other officers did before. He could have let you continue, as you clearly expected. Instead, he stopped you, potentially saving lives. For this, you threatened him, belittled him, and tried to intimidate him. This isn't just about you, Miss Westbrook. It's about all the people you endangered. It's about the system you tried to manipulate. It's about the officer whose dignity you tried to diminish. Judge Coprio pauses. Your total fine is $25,000. Your license is suspended for 6 months, and you will complete 200 hours of service at the Children's Rehabilitation Center. If you fail to complete even 1 hour of that service, you will face 30 days in detention. This is not negotiable, not adjustable, and cannot be paid away. Alexandra is struggling to maintain her composure. Her attorney leans in to whisper something, but she pushes him away. Your Honor, her voice is a whisper, you can't be serious. This will ruin my life. No, Miss Westbrook, this will not ruin your life. Ruining your life would be hitting an 8-year-old child while driving 95 miles per hour and having to live with that guilt forever. This is merely an inconvenience, one that you have earned through your own choices. She looks up, eyes glinting with unshed tears of frustration, and perhaps the first glimmer of understanding. What if I refuse? Judge Coprio holds her gaze steadily. Then you will be detained for contempt of court, here and now. Alexandra rises abruptly. This is ridiculous. This whole proceeding is a farce. Her face is flushed with anger. You all know who I am. You know who my father is. He built half the buildings in this city. Judge Coprio remains completely calm. Miss Westbrook, I suggest you calm down and take your seat. Or what? She challenges, years of unquestioned privilege finally erupting to the surface. What are you going to do? If you are a man, arrest me. The entire courtroom freezes. Judge Coprio looks genuinely perplexed for the first time. If I am a man... That's right, she continues, reckless now. Every real man in this room knows I'm right. The rules are different for people like me. They always have been. They always will be. For 5 long seconds, Judge Coprio just watches her, an expression of genuine curiosity on his face, as if studying a particularly interesting specimen. Then he nods once to the court officer. Officer Wilson, the defendant is in contempt of court. Take her into custody. Alexandra's face transforms from defiance to shock as the court officer approaches with handcuffs. Wait, what? You can't... This is absurd. Her attorney is on his feet now. Your Honor, please, my client is obviously under great emotional distress. She didn't mean... She meant exactly what she said, Counselor. And now she will face the consequences. The handcuffs make an audible click around Alexandra's wrists. She looks completely stunned, as if this were a nightmare from which she will surely wake. You don't understand, she says, her voice now trembling. My father will... Your father cannot help you now, Miss Westbrook, interrupts Judge Coprio gently. That's the problem with living as if rules don't apply to you. Eventually they do. Miss Westbrook, you will spend 48 hours in custody for contempt of court. When you are released, your 6-month license suspension and 200 hours of community service will still be waiting. And perhaps by then you will understand that in this courtroom, justice doesn't see bank accounts. It sees actions and their consequences. As Officer Wilson leads a shell-shocked Alexandra away, Judge Coprio adds one final comment. And Miss Westbrook? It takes far more of a man to uphold justice equally than to bend it for the privileged. That's a lesson I hope you learn during your community service. 6 months later, a different Alexandra Westbrook walks into the Providence Children's Rehabilitation Center. Gone are the designer clothes and arrogant posture. She carries a stack of books, stories to read to the children during their painful therapy sessions. A small girl in a wheelchair lights up when she sees her. Miss Alex, you came back even though your hours are done. Alexandra kneels beside the wheelchair. Of course I did, Sophia. I promised I'd be here for your first steps with the new braces, didn't I? The girl nods excitedly. Dad says you're helping pay for them. He said you're not like other rich people. Alexandra smiles softly. I'm trying not to be. As she helps the physical therapist prepare Sophia for her session, Alexandra thinks about the day Judge Coprio had called her bluff, the day someone finally showed her that all her father's billions couldn't buy her way out of responsibility. The day she learned that real power isn't displayed by breaking rules, but by living well within them. Subscribe now if you believe sometimes the most valuable lessons come from facing real consequences, not just writing checks. Comment below. Should more judges stand firm against wealth and privilege in their courtrooms?